nothing but love and respect. You might have some cool fans, but mine are the best. We've been through it all, went to war when duty called. Never left a man behind, we move as one is super strong. I don't want followers, that implies I'm the leader. I'm not the captain, I just gave them something they can believe in. I hold the lamp in the darkness, but they're the light that I needed to see the road that we walk in between the angels and demons. And my fans have my back. Hate us if your feelings don't like facts. And my fans will fight back. Beat you with the keyboard you've been using to write back. I guess we need each other like both sides of the battery. We the army, we the homies, we the gang, we the cavalry. We're brothers and sisters, we hold it down like we gravity. Can't nobody break the bond that made us all family.
Me and my fans, we don't care what anybody say. Middle fingers to whoever in the way, man. Me and my fans, we gon' be together till the grave. It's a gang till forever and a day, man. Me and my fans, we don't even trip in the hate. We got all the fuck in our veins, man. Me and my fans,
we the hangover gang. Gang, 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 gang.
Oklahoma weather can dish out some of the worst punishment in the world. Hi everyone, I'm meteorologist Tuttle. But now you can fight back by installing Class 4 impact-resistant shingles from Ferguson Roof Systems. These shingles can withstand large hail, heavy rain, and hurricane-force winds, all while keeping your home safe and dry. And the best part? This upgrade is completely free for many homeowners. So call today to start reaping the benefits these Class 4 shingles bring, including a discount on home insurance. Only at FergusonRoofSystems.com.
Hey everyone, Meteorologist Tuttle with you on a Friday night. It's about 9:41, so just looking at some of the latest model data continues to trickle in for how things are going to look on Sunday. So we're going to talk about that here for this evening, so thanks for joining me. We're going to get into the dirty details in the meteorological world and look at the model data to tell you what kind of threats are coming our way, so appreciate you. I see you, Jim from Mustang. Missed you last night, buddy. Didn't see you on YouTube, but you're here tonight, so good to see you. And Gooch, 1971, yes, you are here. Tom's in the house from Fort Smith. Tom's expecting some storms Sunday night. We'll give you guys a shout out as well. Prince of Rain, always good to see you. Good evening from OU. Of course, all my Facebook peeps. And once again, broadcasting to you live from Hotspot T-Mobile USA. Because my Cox Internet, they sent line guys out to fix an issue that wasn't the issue. So God bless them for trying. So, of course, it's the weekend now, so good luck getting that fixed. So I may be doing the old phone stuff over the weekend for Sunday night covering severe weather. It's my backup, but it'll be my primary, I guess, unless they come back out on Saturday. So we'll see. If I get a phone call, maybe we'll go from there. But meanwhile, thanks for joining me, liking and sharing this, telling all your friends and family about me. Thanks for the stars. I see Aubrey, Amanda in the house shooting me some love, so I appreciate that. All right. Well, I'll tell you what. Let me go into the maps, and let's see. Let's get you started with, I thought that was interesting. All right. And just something I just noticed. That has nothing. It's behind the scenes stuff. Okay, so where are we? Squirrel. It's always a squirrel with me. Temperatures out there, man, they were disgusting. No offense, but this is gross for October, especially the 8th. We were in the 90s, and lots of 90s at that. Matter of fact, upper 90s to near 100 down here in southwest Oklahoma. We did hit the century mark officially here in Oklahoma. Otherwise, low 90s out across the east. So anyway, you slice it, it was not pretty. Here in Oklahoma City, it may have been in this way in some of the other areas of the state, but we did tie a record. So for the National Weather Service here from the Oklahoma City Will Rogers Airport reading, 94 degrees officially, which ties a record of 94 set back in 1979. Blah. Normal is 76 degrees. Now that's my kind of weather. This is why I love Oklahoma. This right here, this 76. That's what I'm wanting. And if you stick around here toward the end of this broadcast, I'm going to show you a 7-day. Or 10-day, actually, that has some 70s on it. But right now, let's talk about the severe weather. By the way, did you notice my shirt? So if you saw my post of the day, I got to see the KISS concert in Tulsa. And, man, did they put on a performance, dude. For some 70-year-olds, they know how to rock. I mean, I was like, just don't break a hip. They didn't, man. They tore it up. The production quality of that show was off the charts. I mean, I was really excited. I was impressed. So me and Jody went up there and had a good time. And so anyways, I got a rock shirt to signify their last tour ever. All right, so anyway, back to the severe weather risks. You see from the Weather Service, main hazards here, damaging winds, hail, tornadoes primarily in enhanced area. Enhanced areas over here in the orange shading. Now, is this going to stay that way? Let me put this up here for you. Question mark. I'm going to caution you. Tonight is Friday. We're officially 48 hours from the event. So we don't even talk about tornadoes here in AT's weather world until we get into that window of 48 hours. Then we start to talk about it. Okay, so tonight we're going to talk about it. Now, from this point forward, though, we fine tune and things shift around. And we try to hone in on where the best probability are. So, question is it going to be in this area here, or things maybe going to shift maybe a little bit more into this direction here? Well, let's take a look and see what the newest data shows. Again, because things can change from model run to model run, and they come out twice a day. The big runs do. We do have some intermediary runs. Sometimes they'll do a little bit okay. Sometimes they might lead you astray. Just kind of depends. But needless to say, that is what our threat is going to be coming up for late on Sunday. Now, the Weather Service is already highlighting an event for Tuesday of next week. Strong and severe storms possible, but it's a long ways away, and again, just kind of watching things. So we will keep an eye on that as well in the long term. If you look at the Storm Prediction Center, they have a little circled area here as well that extends on into western Arkansas and even North Texas, all the way down to Dallas-Fort Worth. So keep that in mind. And if I were to glance at the wording from the Storm Prediction Center, they talk about a cold front, upper low storm system, moving on in. You get mid to upper 60 dew points with some daytime heating, yield a moderate warm sector cape ahead of the front. Question is, does that actually materialize and make its way here into Oklahoma in time? Well, let's take a look. Meanwhile, let's see. In response to forced ascent from the shortwave trough, blah, 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 taking on a more negative tilt with time, blah, blah, blah. Let's see. Aided by increasing varying flow with height, shear supportive of updraft rotation, suggests that initial storms will quickly become supercells with large hail, locally damaging winds expected. A couple of tornadoes may also occur. Rather, the quick upscale linear growth is expected. In other words, it should transition quickly into a squall line, which limits the tornado threat, just so you know, as far as a supercell structure is concerned. Sometimes you can get them in a QLCS along the leading edge of a squall line, but those usually are not as intense and they're very short-lived. So we'll see what happens with that. But meanwhile, hail and damaging winds will continue into the evening hours before waning overnight. Now, some of this we talked about last night, if you missed my live deal, of how things typically fade after dark, slowly but surely. And that means for you guys in Arkansas, your threat, say, really, east of Fort Smith is almost zero at that point. We'll see if that holds in the new data. Meanwhile, here's a look at the analog guidance. In other words, we take a look at all past events that has a similar look. Remember, no two events are ever the same, but we have a similar look we can throw into a basket of stuff and see how it comes out. And historically, you could pick out about 5 severe weather events, at least 5. You have about a 50% chance. That's this area here in orange, coming close to red. So 50 to 60% chance here, highlighted in central and northeast Oklahoma. It does have a few reports here in southwest Oklahoma historically and given in this environment. Now, if we break it down into the categories of all severe, all right, so this is going to look at the wind, and so it does favor a large area of Oklahoma potential for some wind out of these storms. And again, that's damage in excess of 58 miles per hour, wind gusts that is, and then some hail, so it does factor that out. The probabilities are rather low. Keep in mind, we're in the 30% range or less. For the hail category. Now, it does have a tornado category as well, and then about the 15%. Oddly, it has it in southeastern parts of the state. And will that hold? Now, it does trail, though, here into central and even the parts of Kansas, but the lighter amounts there. So the key is, the takeaway in this is you just want to pay attention to the signal. Is the signal there, yes or no? Is it weak or strong, yes or no? That's, don't look too much more into that, or your head will fall off. All right, so let's take a look at, did that come in yet? Let me do a refresh on this. So some of the data that I like to look at hasn't quite finished coming on in, but that's typical because, we're early to things. All right, let's jump into this guy here. Okay, we're going to go to the NAM, 3 kilometers, and let me start with the dew point, because this is kind of what really matters. And a lot of times the NAM gets a little excited. This is the 3 kilometer version. It gets a little excited over dew points. In other words, it likes to moisten things up a little too much and doesn't mix things out enough. So let's take a look and see what happens here. So this is the data that comes in. Now, the purple is dew points in the 70s. Dark green is dew points in the mid-60s. You can see that's way down on the coastline. All right, so here we're going to Saturday. Here in Oklahoma right now, we're fine. Tomorrow, you might notice slightly more humidity, but otherwise still just kind of warm. It'll be hot. We'll probably still have some 90s around, though. All right, here's a look into Sunday midday. So we're at noon time on Sunday. All right, so a couple things to focus on. One, we have a developing area of low pressure here, and we have a good south wind pumping in that moisture into this region. And these dew point values here are into the low 60s. Now, do the dew points mix out some? Which they should, but do they? We're going to have some cloud cover coming in. That's going to help prevent some of the mixing, but it keeps piling that low-level juice. You see the 70s coming in central Oklahoma. So, again, Oklahoma City is right about in the middle of the map, and that's 70-degree dew point. So the question is, will that happen? Now, at the same time, it takes that low down here in southwest Oklahoma, moves it right over central Oklahoma, and then in the evening, it'll eventually move up here to northeast Oklahoma. So kind of do a track like this. So what we'll watch for, again, assuming this pattern is exact, and we're still 2 days away officially, 48 hours, but you get enhanced low-level shear along these boundaries that feed in the upper level or feed into the surface low. So we'll have to watch for enhancement potential, a little microclimate, if you will, for tornadic type development, giving anything else, is working out in its favor. Okay, so that's kind of how I look at whether or not the dew points will make it in here. Tomorrow the model will have a better idea. Again, my guess, it's about 4 or 5 degrees too juicy, and that makes a big difference, by the way. You do need to know that. Let me start you off. I'll show you the difference what a forecast sounding looks like, and I'll tell you why, a couple things. All right, let me pick Oklahoma County at this point. All right, so this is Sunday morning, and I want to show you we have a lot of dry air to overcome in the atmosphere. So this is very, very dry, all mid to upper levels. This mid-level base here too, very strong cap, stupid cap. All right, now cap is a lid, it's in the atmosphere. You can't see it, but it's there. It's an inversion layer, prevents storms from forming. That's all you need to know. All right, so it's stout. Now, typically in this environment, unless you get some serious heat and stuff, you're not going to bust it. All right. Okay, but we'll have a couple of things going for us. So we'll have some heat moving in with the 90s, but we'll also have upper level disturbance, which can kind of cool the air as it approaches, which will also help to weaken the cap. So if we go to the 7 o'clock time frame here in Oklahoma City, let's see what it looks like according to the NAM. Okay, so here's the deal. Here's what's changed. The shear has gotten better. If you wanted severe weather, let's put it that way. So when I say it's gotten better, it means it's more favorable for supercell type tornadoes, supercell type storms, which could produce a tornado. The hodograph is decent. It's not pretty per se, but it's decent enough. Classic supercell structure. Let's see, hail categories about golf ball or so. It's got tornado potential strength if it were to develop EF2, maybe EF3 type strength. All right, now this is just a snapshot at 7 o'clock. This is given the moisture that's there. Now, this particular plot has a temperature of 74 and a dew point of 68. And it has still a cap here in place. All right, so what does that even mean for us? Well, it means that storms should not be widespread. All right, so that means it'll be more isolated in nature. And then as more moisture comes in and things develop, we should get a different environment for more of a squall-line type scenario as deeper moisture pulls in for the evening. So when I do that, it still keeps the tornado threat there because of the strong low-level and directional shear. It actually still has a little bit of a cap there as well that didn't really erode completely. So it's going to be interesting to see how things evolved of how well the models do. But if we do take a look at how they breaks down, let's give you an idea on the particular storm dynamics. And I'm going to go into a close-up view here of Oklahoma. All right. Now, if you're new here, we like to get into the data. I like to show you the whys and the hows as to what's going to happen versus just giving you the forecast saying rain tomorrow between 5 and 6. So if you're coming here for something very simple and 20 seconds long, you came to the wrong place. If you want to come here to get educated and to calm your anxiety and nerves and learn real stuff and what's really going to happen, you came to the right place. And we talk about it, we talk you through it. So that's the difference here if you're new to AT's weather. All right, so what happens is we got this little surface low out here in southwest Oklahoma. And what we'll try to get going is a couple of storms out here that feed in. Now, there's going to be some dry slot action, which is going to have to bring in some dry air in this quadrant. It's going to be very hard to get storms to form in southwest Oklahoma, even though we've got the surface low begin to develop and take shape there. The low will have to bust out of that region in northern from there and then tap into some better moisture that gets into central Oklahoma. So keep that in mind. But what happened was you can get moisture that will pivot around that area here into western and Oklahoma State toward Elk City is what the model's indicating. So it does break out a supercell type storm with what we call a helicity track, this little squiggly line here. So what does that mean? In this particular case, because moisture is still a little limited out there, it's a high base storm, meaning it's going to be a hail producer. Might have a little bit of damaging wind with it at times, so it's going to be a hail producer, not a tornado producer. It should be a hail producer out here into western Oklahoma. Now, this is at 6 o'clock in the evening. All right, so that's when the magics really start to happen as the upper level energy kicks out from the west. Now, those storms congeal into kind of a cluster. This is called a line-echo wave pattern, which is basically beginning to form a squall line. Now, as more moisture works in the evening hours, remember, it's a last-minute late rush of moisture to come in here just in time as the upper-level low comes across. So it's like, seriously, it is, could you time this any closer kind of a deal? And we get these a lot. Believe it or not, these setups do happen a lot, so it's a race to see what can get there first, right? The upper level energy to kick stuff off. If it pushes past you before the good juice arrives, you miss out not only on some really good severe storms, but sometimes you miss out on some rain. All right, anyway, here's a look at how these storms are trying to bubble up here as the energy kind of comes in and interacts with the moisture that's developing. This is at 8 o'clock in the evening. You can see the storms out here are struggling to get anything really nasty and deep, which is good. You still have some embedded hailers up here in this favored quadrant where they were already kind of strong to get go as they kind of merge and become multicellular. All right, so 9 o'clock. This is what gets interesting. So things blow up right here in central Oklahoma. So you get of course, the developing squall line. You might get some cells out ahead of it, trying to kind of developing a secondary line. It's in this time frame when they are still isolated in nature. You see how they're kind of separate from one another. So notice in this line, you've got two looks. Let me break this down for you. Let's use this color. Okay, so notice that this line is solid. Okay. Now notice in this line, you have these spaces in between the cells. So if you want tornadoes, you would want spaces in between the cells. If you don't want them, you want damaging winds, some hail, you want this stuff here. So we actually have two looks, and that's because the atmosphere is struggling to decide what it wants to do. Now in the end, especially at nighttime, 90% of the time, squall lines win out. It's very rare to get isolated supercells in this part of the country that stay discrete, we call them, separate from one another, that continue to produce tornadoes long after dark. They're very, very rare here. More common in the southeastern part of the country, Alabama, those guys all the time. But here, not necessarily so. So what will happen should be is that this line will continue to congeal into a solid line. But the point being is, for a few hours here, 8 o'clock, 9, 10 o'clock, there's going to be a little bit of sweet spot in here, some potential tornado action. And that does include the Oklahoma City metro area. Now, as we head into 10, you see how quickly things are starting to move off to the east, and notice how the line is starting to more congeal. You see that? Now there are occasional breaks in here, so that's where the models are struggling which way to go, but they're still winning out in general, just a nice squall line action that moves through Tulsa, McAllister, Muskogee, and usually once you get this, you transition to more of a damaging wind event, pockets of hail. You can't really have an isolated QLCS type tornado, and now those are the kind of tornadoes that are on the leading edge of the squall line versus underneath the supercell itself. So different structure, different dynamics, different everything, and usually not as intense and definitely not as long lived. So though, if you had to have a tornado, that's the ones you would want versus the kind produced in a supercell. Okay, so that's midnight, and then there's 1 o'clock, and then there's 2 o'clock in the morning, moving through Fort Smith and out of that area even on into Arkansas as it weakens. So if you're watching from Arkansas, it weakens after this dramatically. Okay, then things kind of quiet down in Oklahoma for Monday as the system starts to pull away. Okay, so now let's take a look at the tornado parameter. All right, this is where you get the ingredients that come into play. And let's see, I'm going to have to update this. Okay. So this is a significant tornado parameter. What we're going to watch for is the best spot the model thinks right now for a tornado. Now this looks at a basket of indices. Is it gold? Would you bet the farm on it? No, but it's a good indicator of where to watch. But again, we're 48 hours out, so this will move around a little bit. But right now, it does show the trend here. More colors on the map, which indicates a stronger strength on the intensity level. From right now is about a 4. Now, by the way, the level goes from 0 to 10. All right. Now, a 4 is about in the midway. It's nothing screaming crazy, but it's just kind of like, we might see a tornado in that. Okay, that's kind of what my thought process is. Now, as we go into the 49 and 50 hours, let's see. So this is now Sunday evening. This is that 7 to 8 to 9 o'clock hour. You notice how we start to get some reds in here, 6, 6.5, and 7, and that is right over Oklahoma County. So again, if we were to use this as an exact measure of exactly where they would be, which we won't, but if we did, it does show Oklahoma County. So that kind of tells you the trend, which is moisture and instability arrive at the very last possible second, which could coincide with the movements of stuff coming out west to produce some storms. Now, as we head into the 10 o'clock and 11 o'clock hour, you can see, although there's still some yellow on the map, the sweet spot of where the tornadoes would be is over. You see how quickly it diminishes? This is by after midnight, 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock. There's nothing after that. Really, this is inconsequential. So if you were to go based off the model, let's draw this out for you. The best threat for a tornado would be just west of the I-35 corridor. And then, let's see, probably up to about here. And we'll scoot this from just coming in just the west side of Tulsa back down to right around McAllister and here in parts of southeast Oklahoma. So kind of in that sweet spot with the favorite area in between. Not so much north, even though you're kind of in the colored area, but more likely in this spot here. So let me draw a different color. So more than likely, this would be the more favorable region if I had to, pick a spot right now just based off the model data. And if I were to call a tornado or two, I would put it in this area based off the latest model data. And that would be, again, in the hours of probably after 7 o'clock through about 10 o'clock. So that little 3-hour window is where that would be. So that's how that looks based off the data. So I know it took a while for me to get to this point, but I had to show you the lead up so that you understand what's happening and what's coming and why, so you can figure this out. That way you know not everybody has to panic, right? And don't panic anyway. Just know to be prepared that the worst, strongest storm, as far as that potential, may end up being in this area of the state. But tomorrow, I will do a live broadcast for you, and we will see if that has shifted anywhere, if it has moved. It can easily shift a little to the south. It can easily shift a little to the north. It can shift a little to the west, or it can shift a little to the east. But this will be the general spot that we'll then play with and try to narrow things down for you. And we can do that tomorrow, and then we can do it again on Sunday itself. Because remember, the event doesn't really start until Sunday evening, the way things look right now. All right, temperature-wise. Oh, gross tomorrow. Gross. So mid-90s, close to 100 again in southwest Oklahoma. It's mid to upper 90s all over Kansas and even down in North Texas. If you do look on Sunday, though, it does get a little cooler because of the increase in moisture and cloud cover, so we're into the 80s statewide. There are still exceptions, so some 90s out here in the southwest where the dry air comes in, and then maybe even a little spot up here in northeast Oklahoma and up toward Fort Smith. So a few pockets, but otherwise lots of 80s in there, and you can see the evidence of some cooler weather. So this is 70s, the Panhandle, coming this way, and that's what we've got coming our way after that. Which rainfall, by the way, as this storm system moves through, the most favored areas is the easiest call as far as rainfall goes, and that's closer to the comma head structure of the upper level low. And as that upper level low tracks out of the Panhandle of Texas through northeast Oklahoma and Texas surface low with it, the easiest call for heavier rains with that in general will be in this area. But keep in mind, you're going to need some of those heavier supercell or just heavier squall type storms. It can dump a quick inch to maybe inch and a half on you. Down here in southeast Oklahoma, some decent rains, and of course Tulsa. And then we have that other area coming in on Tuesday, so we'll add to this. So your 2-storm total, pretty decent. 1 to 2 inches statewide, with the higher amounts up here in the north, maybe closer to 3. Temperature-wise, once we get past Saturday, it's gravy. So about 85 here in Oklahoma City on Sunday, and then we're into the 70s after that, even some 60s showing up and extended for the following weekend. And then overnight lows. Whoa, what is that? Does that say 45 degrees? It sure does. Woo! All right. Man, that was a mouthful. But I could show you so much more, but, we ain't got all night. You guys got things to do, right? Got to get your groove on. Whatever, get that wine drunk. Whatever you're going to do. Let's see. Andres wants to know what can we expect in Dallas. Do you like the T-Mobile hotspot? Is it just like the normal internet? I thought about getting it myself. So I'm actually hotspotting off my phone. I do have their what do you call it? It's like a I don't know. It looks like a cable modem itself. All it does is it boosts your internal signal if you have a weak coming in, from outdoors, but it uses your existing internet connection to do it. So it routes it through that. So if your home internet connection goes down, then that doesn't really do you much good. Or if you're having a problem with that one on speeds, it doesn't really doing much good. You'd probably just need a booster to put on top of your roof, which I also have for mine for T-Mobile because I want to get every single bit of bandwidth I can. All right, Brian, hard to turn back on the AC tonight, I'm telling you. I've been checking out the Cape for Sunday night. It doesn't look overly impressive according to NIM. No, it doesn't. It's about 1,000 joules, which is doable. I mean, that'll do the job, but it's not like a powder keg type situation. This is not spring or early summer. Let's see. Yeah, GFS, same thing. Okay. You're welcome, Matt. So Dallas. All right, let me get you there, homie. Let's see, where were we? Go back to the Dallas map for you. And then I'll get you guys on Facebook. Hang with me 2 seconds. Try to get as many views as I can. All right. You know what? Let's just switch this map. We're going down to Big D. So you guys get the squall line that develops that moves through Oklahoma, just so you know. All right. So your timing down in Dallas is about 11 o'clock to midnight. And you're on the tail end of the squall line. All right, so usually when you're this far south, removed from the instability in the upper level storm system, you have a little stronger cap down there, and your storm itself, your line is going to be a little weaker. So if I looked at the forecast sounding for that point down here, let's see here, teeny tiny edge of a cap at that point. That's actually pretty decent for a cap strength. What's interesting is the photograph's messy. There's a lot of messy winds here, but yet it still likes the fact of potential tornado, which is funny. The NAM overly likes to get really aggressive on tornadoes, just so you know. Doesn't always mean it's going to happen, but they really like that. Now, the squall line configuration, that'd be very hard to do, just saying. So the model needs to make up its mind which it wants to do. But you will be having some storms going through there. And usually, typically, you can relate to damaging winds and hail. I'd probably ignore the PDS type tornado algorithm for that right now and just go with what the structure looks like and the fact you're far removed from anything. So that's what I would do at that point in time. But we've got still more time tomorrow. Here we are. Okay. Nikki, no, Tulsa's later in the evening. All right, well, because I had to close the Facebook app, I lost all the prior comments and questions. So I have no idea if you asked me anything. So Jennifer wants to know, if you do a forecast sounding, hit me up in a Muskogee, Okmulgee, or even Macintosh. All right. Oh, the connection was severed to the flash server. Check your connection to the internet and try again. Error code. It's never good to see. All right. I don't know what that's for. Probably not enough Wi-Fi. It looks like you guys are still rolling on Facebook, so that's good. Let me see something here. Oh, shoot. Well, can I close this? It is what it is. All right, so we're in Oklahoma. The axis buffering. All right, so for example, when this squall line's coming through at midnight, let's go back up to 11. Okay, so for example, the model still likes the idea of a potential tornado, which it's on the very edge of that sweet spot. So it has a pretty good cap, which still means that maybe the line is still a little broken. As far as the solid squall line goes, it's still pretty potent out there. But again, this is based off of just one model, and one model that's very aggressive. Tomorrow we'll see how things go. That's the same model won't be as aggressive. It'll be more realistic by that point in time, and then we'll see if it's just as nutty. If it is, we'll deal with it accordingly. All right. Well, listen. Since broadcast waiting for signal. Whatever that means, it means it's time for me to shut this down. So I appreciate you guys watching tonight. I get some sleep, and we'll talk again tomorrow, and I'll let you know what the latest is. But I appreciate you watching AT's Weather. Please like and share this video. Tell your friends and family about me. Oh, and I meant to do one more thing. Shoot. Oh, and I can't do it. That's okay. I was going to post the link. Okay, so this is what you can do. I can't post it because I've lost control. But if you look on this broadcast and you tap for the description area, either on if you tap the description area on Facebook, you will see the second line of text is a link you can click on to get a live notification from me that I'm about to go live. So I sent one out tonight for those of you folks that had signed up, and so the Facebook Messenger popped up on your phone or on your computer and it said, "Hey, Aaron's going live. You better tune in. Click here to watch. So if you want that notification, click on that link. It's in the description of this video. And there's 2 areas on there. One, click the video to watch, and the second is manage. You have to hit manage, because what that does is that then prompts you to opt in for the next time I go live. You have to do it each time. It's a workaround, but a little cumbersome, but it works for that purpose. Okay, you guys have a great night. It's good talking with you, and be careful, and we'll talk again soon. All right, good night.